So one of the areas of research that I've been pursuing is internet advertising. And there are many different forms of internet advertising, but one of the fastest growing has been so-called paid search advertising. These are the text ads that are served up to internet users by search engines like Google and Yahoo in response to a search query typed in to the search field on Google or Yahoo. And companies pay when internet users or searchers click on these ads and are then taken to the websites of the companies. The hope is, of course, that once people click on those ads, they'll end up buying something when they come to the company's website. So a question that has arisen with all of the money being pumped into paid search advertising, and it's growing very, very rapidly, is does this money really pay off for the advertiser? Certainly we know it's paid off for Google. The question is it paying off for the advertiser? So that's a lot of what I've been looking at in my areas of research. So when we drill down into the area of internet paid search advertising, one of the things that we find is that the search phrases that advertisers bid for on the search engines have some different characteristics. One of the key characteristics of a search phrase is whether or not it includes the company's brand name or not. So we call search phrases that include the company's brand name branded search phrases, and the term of art here is known as a keyword. So the idea is that the keyword the company buys includes the brand name. And keywords, say, in a category that company buys that don't have the brand name are generic. So to give an example, some of the work we've done for a company in the lodging category is if you're looking for a place to stay in Los Angeles, you might type into the Google search engine the search phrase hotels Los Angeles. That would be a generic search phrase. It suggests that the user is looking for, in general, a list of possible places to stay, trying to form their consideration set and come to some sort of decision down the road. But if somebody types in the specific phrase, say, Hilton Los Angeles, then they're using a branded search phrase. And our hypothesis is that this is something that occurs farther down in the search process, where the user is more likely to make a purchase, or in this case to book a reservation, say with Hilton, than if they had just typed in the phrase hotels Los Angeles. So the reason that this is important for companies is that the competition for the generic phrases is very intense, and the cost that companies have to pay for a click on a generic phrase is typically much, much higher than what they have to pay for a branded phrase. So when you look at the raw data that comes from running a paid search campaign, one of the things that's strikingly clear is how much more expensive these generic phrases are than the branded phrases. And so it's tempting to say, well, maybe we should spend more on branded, give me some more of that type of advertising and less on generic. And one of the things that we are investigating is whether or not, in fact, that's a good decision. So we've built a model using regression analysis to try to understand whether spending on generic advertising spills over into branded search activity. And in so doing, we're trying to understand whether or not the cost of the generic search activity is being overstated, in effect, to the company. That when you buy a generic search phrase like hotels Los Angeles, and you're a company like Hilton trying to compete, the question is, maybe I'm really getting more for that than it initially appears. And the way I might be getting more is that somebody doesn't initially make a decision on their first search. They make their decision a day or two later. They come back to the web. They're looking for the website of the company that they'd like to book a reservation with. And the way that they get there is through a branded search at that point. Having decided that they'd like to stay at Hilton, they type in Hilton Los Angeles, and then they book their reservation. So what we found in modeling this spillover from generic to branded is that the generic terms, in fact, lead to more branded search later on, and that we can develop a set of adjustment metrics for restating the actual cost of the generic search activity versus the branded search activity. And of course, it's interesting to ask the question, does it work the other way? When somebody types in a branded phrase, does that lead to more generic search? So we tested for that, looked for that as well, and the answer is no, it does not. We have an asymmetry in that it's more generic search activity leading to brand-specific activity, but brand activity, at least in the data we've analyzed so far, does not lead to more generic activity. So this strongly suggests to us the presence of this one-way spillover, which is an important thing for companies and internet advertisers to begin thinking about as they value the return on investment from these kinds of campaigns.